So anyhow, Jimmy, how you been?
Very good. Yourself?
Not bad. I had my cardiogram done recently too, and well, both of us are exposed to Agent Orange once in our lives back when we were just little guys. I was 19 in Vietnam and Thailand, and I think you were there, what, 62, 61,
No,
64?
I get there in late '64.
64 then,
But
okay.
I was not exposed to Agent Orange. I was,
At all?
No.
Yeah, they
Well,
brought it in board. They brought it in a little bit later.
I knew we were exposed, but they weren't about to say there was anything in the Philippines.
No, well, they were storing it there at Clark.
Yep, and they were loading it. The MJ1 bomb loaders, they used to
Yep.
pick them up.
Yeah.
And I had guys on my crew that were splashing all over them. In fact, I got one guy, Sergeant Ed Bennett.
Okay.
Ed was my crew chief.
Nice.
He's about 4 years younger than I am. And he's now living in Grand Junction, Colorado. And they notified him a month ago that he had pancreatic cancer.
That'll do it. Yeah.
Now Eddie never applied for 100% disability.
Okay.
In fact, he applied for nothing because he was a staff sergeant. And
E5.
we talked him to getting out. He was going to go for third enlistment. Eddie, you're too good. Get out. So he went back to Nebraska. This had to be late '67. Went back to Nebraska and took electrical engineering classes. And he started an electrical engineering company with two other guys. They went up to Aspen and Vail when it was starting to explode. So he sold his business about 3 years ago.
You buy a ski lodge?
I said, how many employees did you have, Eddie? He said, 63.
Okay.
So it had to be millions, right? And now I know why he never applied for 100% disability. It's pocket change.
You know, Jimmy, I'll tell you, a lot of people, to our listeners right now, how the defoliants that took place in Vietnam, about 1968, they had Agent Blue and they had Agent Orange.
Yep.
Monsanto, I believe it was, were the developers of that. And the idea was to defoliate the jungle area that was hiding the Viet Cong. And the C-123 aircraft of the United States Air Force. And I think the Army had a couple of those too, and the Marines, for different purposes. One of them was also as a gunship. And but the 123 would spray it, and within, I believe, 5 to 6 hours, that whole area of the jungle would have melted. It melts the foliage, right? Takes the leaves off the trees. There's nothing but bamboo hanging out. And that way they couldn't bring in down 100, 200 enemy soldiers at a time and hide them on us, and especially the snipers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, although the American soldier was exposed to it heavily, particularly the guys who had to deal with it and transporting it or even storing it, bases in Thailand, Tat Li, NKP, or Nakhon Phanom, were the storage areas, and that was on the border of Cambodia and Laos. And between Vietnam and Thailand, it was not that far. It was only about 100 and some odd, 200 miles at the strike zone, right in the middle. Maybe a little bit more, okay? But I'll tell you right now, the people didn't know that Thailand, under the auspice of King Bhumipol and Queen Sirikit at the time, they saw communism moving through Laos and Cambodia at a rapid rate. Mm-hmm. And China was helping them along with the Soviet Union. And because they were helping North Vietnam, the fear that we had in the United States back in the 60s was that they could send down a 1 million-man army out of China and wipe us out within 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And to have the detente for that, King Bhumipol had the F-105 Thunder Chief, a nuclear strike bomber, the fastest in our inventory at the time, that at one time was stationed in Germany as a Cold War defensive tactical nuclear bomber in case Russia expanded into Europe. So the king asked the United States if they would help defend them. So we had the common sense, the wherewithal, to move about 250 F-105 Thunder Chiefs into Thailand. And during our Paris peace talks, and for the detente purposes, we told them that if you send down a 1 million-man army, we will wipe out your army within a week.
Yeah.
Because the tactical nuclear bomb, known as the Mk-28, would fit in the belly of the beast, in the belly of the F-105. The aircraft could go twice the speed of sound. Nothing could catch it but another F-105. And for that reason, we felt more secure.
Yeah.
But it didn't stop them. It didn't stop them. We could only bomb certain targets. We couldn't hit certain areas that would have stopped the war a lot sooner. And at the time, in the 60s, it was called, wasn't called a war, it was called a skirmish, to that effect. So a lot of the veterans that came back from Vietnam, they were treated like dogs. And we had no idea. I remember when I was over there working on an aircraft in a revetment, which is a place we'd store the aircraft between concrete and steel barriers. These new guys came over and they'd say, oh, you know, guys, they hate what we're doing over here. What are you talking about? They never told us. You read the Stars and Stripes, nothing, you know. They are calling us baby killers. We're destroying the people of northern Vietnam, and we're doing a terrible thing here. And there's a big concert in New York next weekend, up in a place called Woodstock. And we're going to miss that now. And I said, yeah, we can't even, he said, we can't even wear our uniforms home. When you go back, you got to wear civilian clothes now. And I was dismayed. I was kind of confused about that at the time. What about you, Jimmy? When you were over there, did you have any information coming from the States on what was happening there?
Oh yeah, I knew all the time. My brother, my youngest brother, followed me in the Air Force by about 4 years later, and he is now suffering Agent Orange, 4 different cancers. He's only 76, so he's a poster boy at Mass General. He's had 85 treatments, both radiation and chemotherapy. I took him out to the Clam Box in Ipswich past Sunday. That's his favorite place.
Yeah, I've been there.
His face is all puffed out from the radiation. And he's a realist. He realizes he does not have much time to go. So my next youngest brother's also terminal too. And we're going to go see him this coming Saturday. He's in a nursing home down in Weymouth. His wife, who disagrees with myself and my wife, and we haven't seen my brother for 2 years.
Is he in hospice now, Jimmy?
He had to find a facility to take his rage, and he is catatonic.
Okay, so you're not getting anything out of him, yeah.
No. Well, I can't say that. The last time I saw him 2 years ago was at a restaurant in Weymouth. So we walked in, and he's looking at me. And I walk up to him, and he's looking at me for about, a good 3 or 4 minutes. And he goes, Jimmy?
Okay, that's exciting.
So he said my name, and I went, what? I said, he doesn't talk. He just said my name.
There you go.
So there was a spark of recognition there. All
Sure,
right?
sure.
But my sister-in-law has prevented myself and my wife from seeing him for 2 years now. So my nephew, my brother's adopted son, wouldn't put up with it. So we told her, ultimatum, he's dying. His brothers have the right to see him before he dies. I will just chaperone the whole thing this coming Sunday, and you just stay out of it, okay? But to get back to the clock in the Philippines.
Yes, please do.
Our pilots had the best of all worlds because we had a boss named Chuck Yeager.
Oh yeah.
Some people might have heard from him.
Oh yeah, Chucky. Oh yeah, land speed too.
And he was unbelievable strutting around the flight line. So our F-100 pilots would go into Da Nang, which is in Vietnam,
Yeah.
spend about 10 days, and they'd be dropping 750-pound bombs, 250-pound bombs, napalm, 20-millimeter cannon, 2.75 rockets, the whole 9 yards, for 10 days.
Sure.
Then they would come back to the Philippines for about 3 days. Then we would go up to Tainan, Taiwan, which was a nuclear pad, very quiet, okay? And there it was 48 hours on, 48 hours off. It was like an R&R, because we're not taking off with a nuke unless it's worldwide warfare.
Yeah, that was the fear we had.
But so we sat there, and 4 or 5 times a month, the Chinese would take off from Quemoy and Matsu, heading our way. And they would get to like a fail-safe point. And, I remember like 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd be sleeping away in the air.
Sure.
Alert going on. Jump up out
This is
of
Taiwan.
Taiwan.
Yeah. Okay.
And there weren't any nuclear weapons in Taiwan.
I
Swore
know.
up and down, okay?
We didn't have it in Vietnam either. We had them in Thailand, but no one knew that.
So our
many.
523rd Tactical Fighter Squadron was a nuke-designated squadron, specifically designed for that mission, okay? And so here I am, 23 years old, and I have a crew of 4.
Okay.
I have 2 19-year-olds and an 18-year-old. And I remember specifically one night, 2 o'clock in the morning, the alert goes off. So you get up and you jump and you're trying to get dressed, and you make sure that you blouse your boots, which means you tuck your pant legs into your boots. Why? Why? Because right outside the door, there's these little snakes called
Two-steppers.
crates.
Okay, the two-steppers.
There were 2-steppers, 10-steppers, and 5-steppers
They call them that because of how many steps you take before you die.
before you die.
Shake out your boots.
So God forbid you fell in the grass as you were running for the flight line.
Oh, yeah.
So we get out there, and you're usually paired up with the pilot, and they had this big red painted line across the hangar. And behind you, on one knee, is an MP with his rifle trained on your back. And his instructions are, you cross that line, it's called a no-loan zone,
You're shot.
and you were shot, okay?
Yep.
So it really made a big impression on you, right? So I will never forget one night, we started into the drill, and the pilot would be up, get the engines up and running, and they're throttling them up, so they're straining, and they had these restraints around the landing gear, and they would flip one of them off, so if they tried a taxi, they'd swing into the wall.
Wow.
All right? So that wasn't something they were going to do. So here they are. It's engines are screaming and everyone's screaming. So you could only communicate by hand signals. So I would give a thumbs up to the pilot. Thumbs up meaning you're going to go. And he'd turn his thumb sideways and he'd bounce it like, stand down, I'm reconfirming the codes. And they had codes going through there. And I look over and there's a 90-second clock that would start up. And at the end of the 90 seconds, they go, man, I go back up again, thumbs up, and it was stand down. So usually did about 4 or 5 of these, and if it was a drill, stand down. All right. One night, I look over, and there's liquid running down the side of the plane. And I get up close, and I thought it was hydraulic fluid.
Was it pink?
No, it wasn't pink. Throwing up, part of it was throwing up down the side of the plane.
Oh, good.
And the first, my guy was a major. The third one was a lieutenant colonel, and the other 2 were captains. Well, it was the major and the lieutenant colonel were the ones that thrown up, because you ain't coming back.
Not getting out of there in time.
Dead man walking. All right.
Well, you know,
So the drill shuts down. Bright lights go on everywhere. Who comes walking out of the shadows is a brigadier general and 2 bird colonels, which are pretty high rank. And
Sure thing.
what were they doing there? It was a psychological drill to see what would happen if they got a go code. These 2 pilots were back to the Philippines the next day, back to the States the day after, and they were rifted out of the service.
You know, it only goes to show, if you're going to be in a nuclear exercise, don't eat before you get there.
Don't.
Don't eat before you get there. One of the things that I could appreciate the coding, the MK-28 nuclear bomb that go in the belly. We used to have a fuel cell in the belly of the beast.
Yeah.
And the bomb bay doors would open, it would come down, you disconnect it, and there was a device called the nutcracker assembly. It's almost like a nutcracker, and it was hinged, and that would attach to the bomb and the unit itself, the piston, dead center piston. And that bomb had a parachute on it, a small parachute, because it gave the pilot time to, at Mach 2, get out of the area within, I don't know, probably 30 seconds. It would fly the hell out of Dodge. And luckily we never had to do it. I mean, we didn't have to do, we had to practice it periodically, but that was only in downtime. We did over 20,000 missions over North Vietnam just with the F-105s.
Yeah.
And we had the B-66 bomber. We had the F-111 Aardvark,
Yeah.
all kind of coming out of Thailand. And like I said, 20,000 missions. We did almost 80% of the bombing of North Vietnam with the F-105 Thunder Chief. It's an aircraft that people were not aware of at the time, all top secret. As a matter of fact, when President Johnson was asked about, are there any nuclear weapons in Vietnam? And he looked right in the camera and said, with all honesty, there are no nuclear weapons in Vietnam, because the way things were going in the States with the society, the socialism. And he was not lying. They weren't in Vietnam. We had them in Thailand. And that wasn't very far away, but we didn't need to open or want to open it up to the general public because it would have been worse than it was.
I discovered something unknown to you about nuclear weapons in Vietnam. Our job in Taiwan, okay, we had radiation weapons. They weren't
Okay.
they weren't city levels. A Mark 43 would level New York City. There wouldn't be a thing left. So Westmoreland was very afraid of something like Hue and U.S. troops being overrun. and that was a big overrun by North Korean troops, North Vietnamese troops.
Yeah.
Our job,
The Battle of Way City,
right, so our job was and there was another one,
101st did a good job there.
but it was Dak
Great.
To or something like that. It was another big, like outnumbered the U.S. troops like 10 to 1, 20 to 1. What was designed to do is to fly over that battlefield, let a weapon fall, and kill everybody, radiation. And the horror of that, because at the same time, would use what they call the Mark 57,
Actually, you want to instill fear in your enemy.
but also fear in the governments around,
Right,
around the
right.
world. But also, the idea was to take two Mark 57s, which is small nuclear. You could put a dial in the nose would dial up 20 kiloton, 40 kiloton.
Right.
Take them off an aircraft carrier, drop one in Haiphong Harbor and one in Hanoi Harbor, just to even everything. The war would come to an instant stop from shock and horror. So that's what we were sitting in Taiwan for. It took me 40 years to figure it out by declassified documents I found. And I have a friend who was a Mustang, which meant enlisted man in the Navy. He did 15 years up to chief petty officer. And he got commissioned, started as an ensign, and he worked his way up to a captain, Navy captain, which is the rank that you could command an aircraft carrier. And he was in naval intelligence. And so I communicated him for the last year. And I said, we ought to write a Tom Clancy book. I said, you've got the naval technology, you've got the intelligence things, that we could make it plausible, and I've got a nuclear idea for dropping them on a ton of troops. So we've been talking about this for better part of 3 or 4 months.
You mentioned the MJ-1 earlier, the bomb loader.
The wall motor.
I love those. We used to, when the planes were up, we used to use them like drag racers.
Oh, yeah.
Little steering wheel on the side, you'd wind it up like, and you could open up the four wheels and everything.
Yeah.
The heavier bombs, of course, You know what, you were saying how they wanted to instill fear. The intelligence department wanted to do that. That was the OSI and all those people. And the biggest mistake they made, Jim, that I found out later, was they did not instill fear in them. Instead, it made them fight harder because they were pissed. We had the ROCs in Vietnam, which is the Republic of Korea.
Oh, bad.
And they were vicious. They would go out at night.
Take no prisoners.
And they would go out at night, and they used to call them, they would go hunt the Vietnamese dogs. Because what they would say is that the North Vietnamese soldiers did not want to die in the dark in their sleep, because it was a curse. So they would kill them in their sleep, and they would cut their ears off as trophies and leave them for their comrades to find, to put fear in them, that they saw that what they did to them. They would say, these people are animals, they're terrible, they're terrible. So in that case, that fear was never instilled. Instead, it made them angry, as it would me. When my buddy Michael was killed, I was supposed to meet him, hoping to meet him in Saigon, to go for R&R to Sydney, Australia. I was reading the Stars and Stripes that day in the revetment, and I was up at the motor pool, and I saw Mikey's name in there, and I lost it. I went ballistic. Mikey was 19, Marine, died June 26, 1970. And he was only there a few weeks, and it broke my heart. I never knew how he died. Because I couldn't get home and talk to folks. I couldn't find Stevie Ferreira, who just passed away a week ago from Agent Orange, and knew him for 65 years. And anyhow, the reason I'm here today, and I think we are here today, Jim, is so that people don't forget what we went through over there. Because going forward, this nation is in a quagmire right now. Not understanding, I think, because, every 25 years we seem to get into wars. We get into conflicts. Defense of freedom is never easy, and once lost is never easily regained. We're seeing these happen all over the world. I'm not going to get into the warfare tactics except for the saving grace of America and defending it properly. As I did back then, I was drafted in 1968. You were already in for a while.
I got drafted
And
in 63.
You got drafted, though?
I came with
You were an advisor then. You weren't you were considered an advisor back
I came one day from being drafted, and I enlisted.
then. Okay.
All right?
Okay, that's good. That's good. My brother was over there 2 tours and said, "Don't go in the Army, the Marines, you'll die over here."
So I said, where do you want to go in? Air Force. So
That's what I said. I'll
So I
tell you why.
took the Air Force qualifying test.
Yep,
And,
AFQT.
and the top, you got 95 top on the 5 different components.
Yep.
I got a 90 on one of them.
You did.
Yeah.
You did.
So, and 95 on the others.
Oh, very good.
And so, but who selected me to be a nuclear weapons crew chief? I had no idea because I was told, number one, I was going to be a missile airframe repair on Atlas missiles. I was going to be a heavy equipment operator. Or I was going to be something called a weapons mechanic. How do you work on a weapon? All right?
You attach extenders on the bombs.
But,
Learn how to work
but
the MIRV
in this whole thing, what I forgot about was our mission in Taiwan, where there were no nuclear weapons. Swear up and down, none of the presidents knew. We were being run by CIA.
Of course you were.
Yeah.
The infamous C-47 aircraft, the Goonie Bird.
Oh, yeah.
They would fly in out of Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, and South Vietnam. A friend of mine called Tank, Major Tank, he was an O-1 pilot, and the O-1 aircraft were observer aircraft.
Yep.
Almost like an L-16. They had an overhead wing, and they weren't allowed to bring M-16s with them, but he always snuck one on board. He wrote a book called 100 Feet Over Hell, and he's passed away now. He and I became, at Boston College, we became really good friends. And he was telling me this one case, there'd be 2 planes. One would be up probably about, 4,000 feet, and the other would be down about 300 feet off the deck. And they'd fly over, so the Viet Cong would shoot at the aircraft. And the guy up top, he'd call in the locations to the naval vessels in the Gulf, and they would launch cannons at them and shoot fire at them and blow the crap out of them, all right? And they would fly back. And I've got some great photographs I'll have to show you sometime.
Yeah.
And the book is really good. It's
Yeah.
a really good book. He's quite a guy. But no, back to when I got drafted, they didn't have a lottery system then. The lottery didn't come out until the 70s. And which I was out of high school for what, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. I had a job at a camera store in Cambridge. I was learning photography. I loved it. I bought a 4x5 speed graphic camera, 35 millimeter camera, and within a year, I got the job at 15 as a stock boy and a cleaner. By the time I was 18, I was running a lab, learning to speak some Armenian. And it was wonderful. I learned how to mix the chemicals, how to develop black and white. I learned how to print on different types of 35 millimeter cameras, the autogloss machines, the dryers, the chemicals, everything, you know. So when I was in Vietnam, I took a lot of photographs. I took over 150 to 200 photographs. And I have a PowerPoint presentation that I put together that I lecture at Boston College now 22 years at the History of the Vietnam class. I want you to come to that next year.
We do a tabletop book. You know who you ought to hitch up with?
I have no idea.
It's General Woody Woodhouse.
I know Woody. I saw him at the event we went to,
yeah.
the Marine event. Yeah.
I joined an organization called Ancient Honorable Artillery.
Yes.
Because
Great organization.
because of my ancestors who came into Charlestown in
Yep.
1638,
That's when it was founded.
and they would. Sergeant John Tidd was charged by the Ancient Honorable of London
Wow.
to form a militia to protect Charlestown
Yep.
from the Indians, and I have 10 ancestors coming forward from 1638 up to 1956 when my grandfather John Tidd passed away in Stoneham.
Wow.
And Sergeant Tidd in 1640 was charged by the Charlestown to survey what is now Winchester, Woburn, and Burlington.
Imagine surveying back then.
Oh,
Man,
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
he was given 50 acres of land as
Lewis
his
and Clark.
50 acres of land as his pay, which went from Horn Pond across the Spot Pond right through the fells
Wow.
on it. And in the 70s, I
Put a
had
spotter out 100 feet and he disappears. There you go.
in the 70s I had a real estate broker's license I was trying, right?
Wow.
And on the broker's card it said investing in land since 1640, legitimately.
Wow.
So
Wow, that's amazing. That's really amazing. Now, I'm looking
Oh,
back at the
can I-
ancient Well, Woody, let's go back to Woody for a minute, because
Yeah.
I had a lengthy discussion with him at the Ancient Honorable meeting I went to a few years ago, and he's one of the last Tuskegee Airmen.
yes,
World War II, the all black African American
Yeah.
pilots and crews. And he worked on P-40s,
yeah,
and so my working on the 105s, we hung out for almost an hour and a half, sharing the history of what we did and how we did it. And I'll tell you, anybody out there that's in high school that doesn't know what they want to do with their lives, I don't know if I want to go to college. I don't know if I want to go to tech school. I don't know what I want to do. I want to be an air conditioning specialist. Do I want to drive a truck making $100,000 a year these days? Maybe that's not enough, though. I'll tell you what. Do the 2 years in the military, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. Space Force is another one. We have to look at that because the Space Force that's recently been established, because going into the future, we won't have manned aircraft any longer like we do now. The F-35, making billions of dollars for a pilot for that, that's ridiculous. We don't need that any longer. We can actually control a vehicle without a person in it, as AI is with the vehicles on the ground right now, okay? So, we know that's the case. A Space Force and the satellites that are now circling this Earth, and what we learned in Vietnam about changing the polarity of the gyroscopes in missiles. You ever see a missile with wings? No. You know what steers that missile, Jimmy?
Yeah.
A gyroscope.
Yep.
And the gyroscope has a control mechanism, which is a negative and positive variable, on the programming, the pre-programming. So what we learned in Vietnam was how to send the missile back to where it came from by altering with electronic countermeasure in the B-66 aircraft. They had a crew of 8 in the back and 2 in the front, okay? And that's your phone, not mine.
Yeah, hold on.
Okay, hold it. Is it your pizza?
Yeah.
Who's hungry here?
Hello?
There you go.
James,
Yes.
it's Dr. Conway's office. How are you?
We're back on again. Hey, sorry for the break there. Jimmy's pizza came. It's fine. But anyhow, what I was saying, Jimmy, was we did learn a lot. If you don't learn during warfare what could take place and what shouldn't have taken place, what has taken place, then you have, in fact, wasted your time in that war, okay?
Yeah.
One of the things I think, the sacrifices we make, all the young men that are killed, young women that are killed, all the variables that take place, it's horrible. War is never good for anybody. And it does have to happen sometimes to defend yourselves. And the point I'm trying to make here is we did learn one thing about the surface-to-air missile program that the North Vietnamese had on us. We were able to, the B-66, for example, they would go in to bomb the North with our 105s, and yes, cause heavily destruction to end the war, perhaps. And we would, they'd put our radar on us. Instead of showing 6 aircraft, 600 aircraft would show up on their radar screens.
Electronic countermeasures. Yeah.
Right, so they wouldn't know which airplanes were the actual airplanes.
Yep.
And so by doing that, we can see the missiles going all these different directions. We were able to take a hold of that missile and alter the gyroscope's ability and send it back to where it came from. So today, in all these years, the satellites we have circling the Earth now with the Space Force, if a foreign country tries to launch a nuclear weapon at the United States, I believe, and this is what I've come to understand, that we are able to turn that missile back to where it came from, or if it gets launched within 30 seconds, explode it where it is.
Elon Musk.
Well, that's what I'm talking about here in a
It's
way.
his technology.
But let's put it this way. Russia just recently launched missiles at Ukraine that go 4,000 miles an hour or something like that, some ridiculous
Oh, much
speed.
faster.
Almost the speed. Yeah, it's ridiculous, okay?
Yeah.
And can you actually countermeasure a missile going that fast? Yes, you can.
Yeah.
All you got to do is get a hold of the gyroscope mechanisms and alter it. But they probably have, I'm not that technical on it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
This is only what I've come to understand for where I've been. And I'm not a young spring chicken anymore. No, I'm not. But I've been listening along the way, and I've been watching along the way. And I've seen that, the worst scenario is to send young people into war. There's an old phrase, it goes, dulce et decorum est pro patria more. It's Latin for how sweet and becoming it is to die for your country. And it is on the overhead at the Arlington National Cemetery, over the amphitheater.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of the name of the guy that wrote the poem. You can look it up, Google it. Dulce et decorum est pro patria more.
Why are you not a translator?
I don't want to be. I got enough things to do. I got 7 languages I'm working on for crying out loud. So
God bless you.
he has blessed me, Jimmy, just knowing you. All right.
Oh, likewise.
And ditto,
Back
my
at you.
friend. We're both veterans. We served our nation. We don't want others to go through what we went through if we can help it. By virtue of a good government, yes, we need that. But more importantly, we need good soldiers. And like even Israel, they have a mandatory 2-year service in the military in Israel. Did you know that?
Yes.
Okay?
Everybody.
Male and female, everybody, okay? And in that 2 years, if the United States were to do something like that, similar, 2 years, get 4 years of free college. All paid. 4 years, okay? And you want to buy a house? 0 down payment, with 2 to 3% lower than the interest rates in the current market. Okay, when I bought my first house, I didn't know I could buy a house with no money down. Was the guy I was buying the house from, Major McElroy in Melrose. I bought the house for $42,000 in 1979.
Wow.
Imagine that. 6 bedrooms,
Yep.
3-story, single family on Morgan Street, okay?
Yeah.
Great town. I lived there for 34 years. I loved Melrose. This guy was a tanker pilot in Vietnam.
Oh.
He was a pilot in Korea and World War II. Unfortunately, became an alcoholic, and that wasn't good for him, but it killed him eventually.
Can I give you a tanker story?
Go right ahead, please do.
When I left the Philippines, I had about 6 months left to go. This was in 1968. And they went from the Philippines, put me in Minot, North Dakota for a winter.
Missile defense.
And so I'm a weapons crew chief on F-106s.
Nice
And
play.
so doing a night shift, I'm going back into the barracks at 8 o'clock one morning. It's only 34 below zero, right?
Yeah.
And I hear engines winding up, and it's a big, and you could tell it was heavily loaded with a KC-135 coming down the runway. And it's like a 15,000-foot runway, and it's cranking. I got my hand on the door, and you hear it lift off, and then silence. And the next thing you go, whoomp, 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 whoomp. It had gone in and blew up.
Sure did.
And it took, the base commander was a brigadier general at the time. He was arrogant enough to take it off and stalled it. And I was just like, oh my God.
Was that full of fuel?
Yeah, it was full of fuel.
Yeah, imagine how heavy that is. They got 8 engines?
Yeah.
That's a lot of engines. I've never seen up close on the engine part of it.
I think there's
Four
four
engines,
yeah.
yes. I'm thinking of a B-52.
No,
That is 8. My buddy was engine mechanic on a
but
B-52.
I'm going, what ego?
I know, well,
What ego saying, I'll get this sucker off.
it's a shame, you know. I remember when my first time up in an F-105, I just got my egress training completed, and I was going through a very depressing time. Mikey was killed, and my first wife left me, and my grandmother died. They wouldn't let me come home, and I was furious. And so I had my egress training, and Captain DeYoung comes out he was 100 missions already. He had a patch, 100 missions over North Vietnam, and he looked at me and could tell I was very depressed, and he knew that it wasn't going to be a busy day. He had to show these new pilots where the in-flight refueling runs were over Cambodia. He said, Sergeant, how you doing? I said, not good, sir. He goes, hey, I understand what happened to you. I was talking to Charpentier, one of the other guys in operations. He said, go suit up. Your egress training is done. I got a flight suit in there. I got a parachute in there for you. Everything you need. Get a helmet. Come on back down. So I went back down, and I was all excited. This is going to be something. And so I got up the ladder. I got on the plane. My assistant crew chief that I had at the time goes, you're lucky, so lucky to do this, man. I said, well, I guess you're going to make me a permanent in-flight crew chief. That'd be nice. So I get in, I strapped in, and I'm looking at the fuel gauge, and there's only half the tanks. They're not full, So I'm wondering, what the hell is he going to do? Now, no plane left without ordnance on it, and no plane landed with ordnance, because if you blew a tie, you blew the runway.
Yeah.
So, and if you're up there, just showing these guys where the in-flight refueling runs were, but you got called. You had to get back down there and do your defensive stuff,
Yeah.
excuse me. And so we took off, and he takes out of afterburner. I thought the engine quit. There's only one engine. It's a J75. I'm thinking it quit. I'm going, damn. He goes, relax back there. I just took it out of afterburner. So now he's flying, and you got to in-flight refuel within 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because you can't take off with full fuel tanks because of the weight of the aircraft. You get water injection to get the thrust you need to get off, okay? But you don't have the power to get the weight of the aircraft with a full belly of fuel and your wing tanks, okay? So I could hear him talking to the boom operator, and I said, sir, where's the KC-135? He goes, look up. I went like this, all I could see was the aft section of the thing, right? So the IFR probe goes out in the front left side of the aircraft.
Yeah.
He hooks up, little loose JP4 goes across the canopy. I'm a 19-year-old kid. This is crazy, all right? And I'm trying to get all the instruments down. Now, I've used it when I was taxiing the aircraft with the trim pad on occasion. And I was an E5, so I learned quick, and
Yeah.
we grew up fast over there, Jimmy, you knew that. And so now he takes off to the right. These two guys got their tanks full. They went to Karat and Udon up north. And He says, we're gonna get rid of the ordinance now. He says, where are you gonna do that, sir? Same place I do it every day. Where's that, sir? He goes, the Ho Chi Minh Trail. So we get down about 100 feet off the deck, and he must have been going, I don't know, 350 miles an hour, maybe 400. And we're only 100 feet off the deck.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm looking back, I'm seeing water buffalo duck after we went by. And the rice paddies are going by like a picket fence. And all of a sudden the lights go bing, 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 and the bombs are gone. And that was it. So we're flying up. He's getting some altitude now. I look back and I see the mess. I think he even flew through some of it, to be honest with you. And it was only 55 years ago, so the details aren't as specific now. But he goes, let's see how high up this plane will go. I said, sir, I think the ceiling of this aircraft is 53,000 feet, okay? Oh, it'll go higher than that. Now I'm thinking this pilot, Captain DeYoung, I'm thinking he's got to be in his 30s. He's 28. All right? He's just out of college. He's been over there for a year and a half, all right? And he could have gone home once already, but he didn't. He stayed. And he was a crazy son of a gun, all right? So he goes, let's see how it goes. He gets afterboard and it goes straight up. There's a corkscrew
Corkscrew,
climb.
yeah.
And I'm looking down, watching the earth spin below me, right? And it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I could see the curvature of the earth and stars. And I'm freaking out. If I eject up here, I'm dead, all right? Egress training was great, but it didn't tell you what had happened that high up, right? So,
I always worried about that.
you know, so I said, sure, we're breaking up. We're way beyond 53,000, okay? He goes, relax. He goes, Geronimo, and goes straight down, okay? My mask comes out to about here, right? It's about 2 inches from my mouth.
Yeah.
And I'm freaking out. So I hit the 100% oxygen switch up. It's like a wall switch, right?
Yeah.
In case you're getting dizzy. So the G suit's filling up, squeezing my legs and my waist.
Yep.
And I'm trying to grab the mask to fix it. He comes out of the dive. I smash my face. I get a bloody nose, all right? And he's laughing. You guys never put those masks on tight enough first time up. He's laughing. Not even christened, he says. Okay, sir, thanks a lot. I'm bleeding back here. He goes, there's no Band-Aids back there. Relax. So we flew along. Let me try it out. I couldn't do with the damn. I mean, I could taxi them, but it's different up there. I just touched that stick. I just touched it. And the plane veered left really quick. Oh, that's enough. So we get back, and the ladder comes up, and my crew chief's looking for the bullet holes in the canopy, thinking I was shot in the blood. And I says, no. Now the pilot's down, Captain DeYoung's down there. He's got his seat pack off, he's shooting everything, and he's laughing. I come down the ladder, he goes, all right, let's go to the officers club size. The guys like you. He says, well, Scots or something, right? Said, okay, fine. So I kept the flight suit on, and my assistant brought the gear back to the office building, and the Jeep picked us up, the blue Jeeps, the famous blue Jeeps, the Air Force has.
Yeah.
And we go to the officers club. They got an in-ground pool. I said, what the hell is this? An in-ground pool. It used to be a Thai base that we expanded on, so they had the pool there for them, I guess, at one time. So they made the officers club there. But it's hot in Thailand. It was so hot over there, man. And anyhow, I'm going by the pool. He pushes me in. Because I ain't been baptized. So and of course it cooled me off. I didn't mind it at all. It woke me up a bit better too. So next thing I remember, Jim, waking up in my barracks, and it's still in the flight suit. Hey, enough of me. What about you? Give me some more of your stuff. I love this.
We had a contest for Airman of the Month.
Okay.
So the winner of the Airman of the Month got a backseat ride in an F-100F, two-seater. So my ride was 4th of July, 1967.
Oh, wow.
I had a choice of 2 different rides. One was a bomb rocket strafe, which was all 25-pound practice bombs, because an F-100 dropped a nuclear weapon by flying up and lobbing it out to go in an arc as it came back and headed out the other way. And then we had 2.75 rockets and 20 millimeter cannon shells. So we had about
That's the Vulcan cannon. The 20
no,
millimeter Vulcan?
No, 20 millimeter with a regular single barrel.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because the Vulcan was like a
rotary.
Gatling gun, yeah.
So we had four cannons in the F-100. So, or you could take a run from Philippines up to Taiwan and turn around and come back. I'll take the run up to Taiwan because I had enough time to go into the BX up there to buy a camera, and I was getting ready to leave. So we're flying along, and I've got a little Kodak box camera, and I started taking slides, and I have a picture that is the black back seat of the pilot in front with a little white helmet. Up in the canopy, there's these white, looks like Scotch tape, and the radio antenna.
Right.
Above that, facing backwards, is a face of a gigantic helmet, which is blackened in the white helmet, staring back down. And the caption was "God is my co-pilot," and it's beautiful. He said, "You can't use that." He says, "It's been used so many times." I said, "Well, it's spectacular." So my wife took the slide. Now, I had not developed the slide for 50 years.
You still got it.
Well, yeah, the last summer. So she took it for my birthday in May and took it down to Hunt Drug Melrose
Yeah.
and made a 4-foot blow up of it, a 4-foot square.
Oh, Hunt Pharmacy. I mean, a Photoshop.
Yeah.
Hunt Photo,
4-foot square, which
Nice.
is up on my
Nice.
was up on my wall, and also on my wall afterwards. So anyway, we're flying into Taiwan. So I get through the picture and he said, "You done?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Cross your arms." "For what?" "Just cross your arms." So I crossed my arms. 5 minutes later, we go into a dive. And we're looking, and we're just peeling off. We're dialing for 40,000 feet. So it's coming, 20, 15, 8, but 10, 6,000 feet he pulls out. I don't know how many G's we pulled, but I just, my face just felt like it was about weighed a ton. And I started to black out and scream up. So we broke the sound barrier on the way down. And I said, "Oh my God."
It's so quiet when you're
Yeah.
going that fast.
So I said, "How do you guys not pass out?" He goes, "Oh, we kind of gray through it." I'll never forget. We gray through it.
Yeah, G-suits.
But it didn't seem to work.
Wow. Get your plugs in the center. You see.
So anyway, come back. A week later in the mail, I get this 8.5 by 10 Mach Buster certificate,
Oh, really?
breaking the sound barrier, signed by the wing commander, Colonel Charles E. Yeager.
You got that.
So I've been offered $500 for it. I don't know
You
why.
find that in an antique roadshow someday.
Yeah, so I've got it next to a picture of the general in front of an F-20 target shack. On the bottom, I have a picture of F-100, not an F model, but a D model, enough. And it's my prized possession.
You know, I worked on those in tech school at Wichita Falls,
Yeah,
Shepherd Air Force Base,
Yeah.
up north, Texas. And I worked on the 100s, 106s, 102s, 101s, the Voodoo, I think it's called.
101.
Delta, yeah, then I worked on the T-37s
yeah,
and the F-5s and the T-38s, all right? And I liked the 100 the best. It had that intake right in the front, easy to get in, clean out, look at. We used to do a post-flight inspection on the 105s, and you had to go up inside each of the two intakes with a screwdriver handle, tapping the inside of it for loose rivets.
yeah,
And then you come out. If you don't hear anything, it's fine. If you hear a loose rivet, you had to call the machine shop out, and they'd climb in. You'd circle it with a marker. They'd take and replace it. But the new guys, myself included, my first time there, and the line chief had me go in and do the intake post inspection for loose rivets. And I get up there. Now it's about, I don't know, good 10 feet to the intake from
Yeah.
the ground.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Need a ladder to get in there, the rack. Okay. And so I'm in there, and they moved the rack away. Some moved the rack away, and one of the clowns hit the throttle, and the igniter plug started tick, 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 ticking. I could hear it. I'm thinking they're starting the engine. I come flying out of there, but I grabbed the wind fence on the side,
yeah,
so I didn't fall on the ground, bust my skull.
Yeah.
And they're all out there laughing at me, of course. You know, see, the little things you do to the new guys. You know, like go to the hangar, get me 20 yards of flight line, and 4 gallons of prop wash, and bring it back. You know. And I knew exactly what it was. Though, see, I lucked out, Jimmy. I was in Civil Air Patrol before I got drafted.
That's why you were staff.
That's why I was an E5. Yeah.
And also if you were an Eagle Scout, you went up one rank before.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
We may have earlier.
Yeah.
I didn't even know I was entitled to it till I got to basic training.
Yeah.
And the DI comes up to me and says, "Airman Mangan." "Yes, sir." He goes, "Here's your first stripe. Sew it on. You've already got it." I said, "What?" Because you were an officer in the Civil Air Patrol. I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, that's Air Force Auxiliary." I said, okay, great, thank you. So now, we got our heads shaved, all right? Never forget this, September '68. And we got our heads shaved, and the DI says, "Now, if I'm not here, Airman Mangan's in charge. You listen to him. Everything I say, he's going to call me if there's a problem. Do you understand that?" "Yes, sir, yes, sir," screaming. So he leaves, and all the guys that bitching and moaning about their heads being shaved. This is the '60s, dude. They had long hair, right?
Yep.
I didn't have it. I had it later, but anyhow, I said, listen, why don't you wear your hats to bed tonight because your hair will grow back faster. What do you mean? I said, well, hair is like grass. It needs sunlight to grow. You put the hat on, it's going to deprive it of light. It's going to grow faster.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And my roommate says, what are you talking about? I said, I'm just bullshitting. Don't worry about it. So ends up next morning, the DI comes into the barracks, 4:30, banging on the doors. Rise and shine, you bunch of panty waists. Get up, get up. Why are you all wearing your hats? Sir, Em and Megan told us that hair would grow back fast, so we wore our hats to bed tonight. He comes to me and goes, you're going to work out fine. And actually it did. They knew I was joking.
Yeah.
But there was another time. And we had people, back in '68, and the draft was on, most of the guys in the military then were from like the central United States. They were from farm country in New York.
Yeah.
They were housing projects. Myself, I grew up with the projects, and poor kids. The rich kids' families all knew to send them to reserves and National Guards to keep them out of the war,
Yep.
And they didn't have a lot, like I said. So most of the people there were either minorities or they were folks from a poor class America,
Yep.
And so one of the guys, he didn't understand where the DI wanted to put that laundry mark on his underwear. Okay, so we're in the day room, and it's a hot day. We all got our boxer shorts on and T-shirts, and sitting on the floor. Must have been 30 of us, maybe 35 of us. And they give us all a laundry stamp. Okay, now everyone got one. They didn't know who was going to get which one until you filled out the document index card. So my name's David Mangan, M9062. All right, yeah, I'm surprised I remember that. And I'd stamp it. Right now, this one guy, Mugridge, he's long gone. I can say his name. He didn't know where to do it. He screwed up twice. The DI comes down, yells at him, gets in his face, starts screaming in his face, and the kid's shaking in his boots. You, stand up. Put the underwear in your head. Stick your nose out the pee hole. Now run up and down and flap your wings saying you're Captain America. Humiliating the guy.
Yeah.
That's how they did it. They grabbed your spirit, and everyone's going, hope that's not me next time. Hope that's not me, So they had to discipline you because, Jimmy, discipline is the art of being able to influence and direct people in such a way that you can obtain the obedience, the confidence, the respect, and above all, the loyal cooperation in order to accomplish your mission. It becomes, if you will, a mental attitude, a state of being which makes proper conduct automatic under any condition. And that's what they would try to instill in us. But doing it that way, yeah, it seemed a little odd, but leadership comes in different calibers. And sometimes you got to take the bottom to get to the top, to build a foundation to make it work. Because I know of no more encouraging fact than the unquestionable ability of a nation or a military, the understanding that, how can I put this to make it I understood? See, I know of no more encouraging fact than the unquestionable ability of a nation to elevate itself than by its conscious endeavors.
Yeah.
And that's easy to say. I mean, you're conscious about what you do. You're not just saying, well, let's do this, well, let's do that, let's try this, let's try that. You can't do that at the expense of young lives,
Yeah.
And your basic training, you went to Amarillo?
Yes.
I'm sorry, San Antonio.
San Antonio.
Lackland?
Yep.
Yeah. That was pretty crazy. I remember the minefield we had to go through?
Yep.
The chicken wire over us, and you had
Yeah.
to crawl, we had M16, your backpack, and
Yeah.
the guy in front of you, if he wasn't, and they had blown up minefields around us.
Yep.
And the guy in front of me, he's froze solid. And I kept moving, I'm pushing his boots, pushing, so I finally took the rifle butt, and they stuck it between his legs. He moved real quick. And as he moved, they were blowing up more of the mortar rounds, And we had a lot to do. My kid Mike Drain from Oklahoma, we were the first two done in our obstacle course, and we're laughing. The DIC goes, all right, you think it's so damn funny? Do it again! So we're going through the second time. I didn't want to go through that gas chamber again. That gas chamber was
Oh, no.
wicked, man. Oh, God.
But it's funny you said your number, Air Force serial,
Yep,
114356679.
11629-062, sir.
And it comes out of nowhere.
It does, because it was drilled into you. That's what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
the discipline, Jimmy. That's
But,
why people have it or they don't. If you don't exercise your disciplines, you will not be able to win.
But no regrets. I mean, in '83, I can remember minute detail all the way back to World War II.
Wow.
I was 4 years old.
Yep.
Okay? I lived on North Street in Stoneham, which was a dirt road at the time. And my wife said to my mother, what was his first word? She goes, he was looking out the window, and he goes, car. So what happened? I ended up drag racing up Sanford, Maine in 1959 and 60.
Yep.
Right? Always had fast cars. I had an SS '68 Camaro when I
Nice
got out.
car, yeah, yeah.
And then I had a 1970 Gold Firebird. My grandmother died, left me $5,000. What did I do? Bought a 1973 dark blue Corvette. So
That was good. That was a good price, you know.
so I have no regrets.
Well, my first was, you're talking about first time, we grew up in a cold water flat in East Cambridge.
Yeah,
That's when you gotta boil the water in the stove to give baths and everything,
Yeah.
before we moved in the projects.
yeah.
And my dad didn't get the job in the fire station until later, but there was, Marilyn, Paul, Kenny, me, and there's 4 of us, and my parents is 6. And anyhow, my brother Kenny and I were up front a hot summer day, and we're sitting there on the curbstone, and my sister Marilyn and her girlfriend, the Melanson girl, they look at us and say, "Now listen, you two, if you get lost, you tell the policeman you live on Norfolk Street. Norfolk Street. Can you say Norfolk Street?" I said, "Norfolk Street. Norfolk Street." "Okay, very good." So I looked at my brother, and he said, "Norfolk Street. Say Norfolk Street." Now, this neighborhood was minority, so we were probably 3 white families living there at the time. I didn't give a damn. I still don't give a damn. But these kids walk by, and I'm going, "Knock, knock, knock on Norfolk Street. Knock, knock, knock on Norfolk Street." My brother's going like, they start dancing. We're doing the dance. I think I started rap, Jimmy. I just don't know it, like the skateboard beginner, or something like that. My sister always joked about it. "I remember that day when David was doing the knock, knock, knock on Norfolk Street." That was crazy. Hey, we got in the projects. They had a Jefferson Park in Cambridge.
Yeah.
We had real hot water coming out of the faucets, right? And we had the upstairs, building 50 at Jefferson Park and Ridge Avenue. And the back of the building was where the railroad tracks were, where we were.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated by the locomotives that would go by the Boston and Maine Railroad.
Yeah.
And there'd be twin locomotives pulling 60, 70 boxcars, all right? And log cars and everything. I would stand there and look at them. It was amazing. Be a little kid looking at that at 4 or 5 years old.
One thing I want to go back to,
Sure.
when our guys went into Da Nang,
Yep.
okay?
Shiny Beach.
They were using the bomb loader, MJ.
MJ1s, yeah.
To do 55-gallon drums of orange
Yeah.
into the C-123s.
Yeah.
And do you know that C-123s were up the Westover Air Force Base,
Yeah.
and they were still contaminated.
Were they?
Oh yeah, so people were getting the residual after effects of Agent Orange, as you know, into the late '70s, early '80s on it. But so anyway, guys are in Da Nang, and all of a sudden they said, "We want to assemble you all together," and they floated them on a C-124. Oh,
Yes.
okay, where we going? Oh, it's classified. So they got flown into Laos.
Yeah, they had emergency landing fields there.
What were they doing?
Seabees made them.
What were they doing? The Laotian Air Force had 250-pound bombs. They didn't know how to put the fuses in them. So our guys were flown over there by CIA just to put the fuses in the bomb. So when they said, "Oh, there's no Americans in Laos," gee, I know different.
My buddy Rick Bateman, he's out in Western Mass now. He was a tank commander during the war, and he was in Laos for 3 weeks. That's what they tried. We wanted to go north through Laos, but we couldn't. It was just too goddamn wild, from what I understand. Well, listen, Jimmy, I want to tell you, let you people know that our people that are listening to this today, that as the Veteran Service Officer for the town of Wakefield, my office is at the 30 Converse Street Senior Center here in Wakefield. My office hours are Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. We do not take any walk-ins there. I just can't. I'm so busy right now. It's a blivet, was what they call blivet, 5 pounds in a 1 pound bag. And it gets very difficult. So make a call. I check my voicemails every day. Mary Ann is the administrator. She's there as well. My name is David. You can go to the website, the town website, and get some specifics on what we can do as veteran service officers. From Chapter 115, you can Google that and find out what it's all about, to the actual claims you can make. If you're looking for DD 214 discharge papers, I have access to get those if they enlisted in Massachusetts. If not, there's a document we can send off to Missouri called an SF 180 that we can do the research and find that DD 214 for you. If at any time you feel that your DD 214 does not have all the specifics on it as being your discharge papers, for example, temporary duty assignments, the squadron that you belong to, or the battalion or the detachment, they have numbers for that reason. We can research that. We can Google it nowadays, or hell, AI will probably give it to you before I could. But you can find that stuff, and it can use it for any evidence you might need to get any claim you have putting in. Because if you got injured in your service time, that injury may give you a compensation. You have 1 year after you get discharged to notify the VA or the government, depending upon what it is, unless it is something that's service connected for a time delay, such as chemical herbicides.
Okay, we'll just
or
finish it
whatnot.
off.
So,
Hi.
Hi.
that's it. If you need to call me, my phone number is 781-246-6377, and my email address is dmangan, M-A-N-G-A-N, at wakefield.ma.us. Thank you very much, Jimmy, for being here today.
Yeah, just I want to finish up with telling him how much I thank Dave for what he's given me. I didn't know that I was eligible for health care until the 70s and 80s, and I stumbled upon the health care through the Saugus VFW, and because information was given, and many people were eligible, but you know it's you have to stumble upon it. So I was told that I was eligible as a wounded warrior. They said everybody, and mine was post-traumatic stress from being a nuclear weapons crew chief. So in I was awarded 30% post-traumatic stress in 2011. 2 years later, which is supposed to be evaluated every 2 years, it was increased to 70%. Well, I was getting like $1,400 a month on it. But the money is, when you get 100%, it jumps up by $2,000 a month. So anyway, I spent 6-7 years because I became manic depressive after having a post-traumatic, I had traumatic brain injury by getting electrocuted on the Seabrook nuclear power plant site. And I came down bipolar. So I was in a depressive state for like 6 years. And so anyway, I went to see if my wife could get some compensation for taking care of me. And we went in to see Dave. And he said, "Oh, I don't know about this." And he said, "When was the last time you were evaluated?" I said, "I haven't." He said, "Supposed to be every 2 to 5 years." He worked diligently for a year, and I got my 100%. So right now, if you have a relative who is eligible for 100%, at the first of the month, I get paid $3,940 tax-free.
Now, Jimmy, your wife gets some care, home health care.
She gets
Does she?
$2,250 tax-free.
That's a new thing. VA is doing that now for home health care. So if your family member, a daughter, a son, a husband, a wife, is taking care of the injured warrior, then they can actually collect some money on that as the caretaker. Or if you use that money to get someone to come in and do it. It's a whole home health care, va.gov. You can find out all the ins and outs of that whole program. Please visit it. We are available there as well. So there you go, Jimmy.
I don't care who you are, you've got an injury. Right now, the medical team at the Bedford VA comes to my house.
Yep.
My PCP doctor comes to the house. My nurse, my psychologist, my psychiatrist, they all come.
And you know, Jimmy, another thing that I found out not too long ago, 6 months ago, I put a claim in for a friend. He died from the presumptives of Agent Orange on the death certificate. He never put a claim in. He was Air Force as well. And a lot of people didn't know what we were doing over there for the Air Force part of it. And what ended up happening was his niece, my friend, who got 100% for Camp Lejeune, by the way, he's got about a year and a half left. But he told me his niece's husband died from that, and he never put a claim in. So I did put the claim in for her to get the dependent indemnity compensation. So even if your spouse, if he had passed or she had passed as a result of a service-connected death after the fact, ipso facto, if you will, The PACT Act and the TERA, the Terror Act, could compensate that surviving spouse. So, call me, let's look into your case. We're here to help all the Wakefield residents, any veterans. We are a veteran community, Purple Heart community, and we are taking care of our veterans here in Wakefield. Thank you very much and have a wonderful evening. And happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Oh, were we on?
Oh, but he's
It's red.
I don't know. They would have come in and
Yeah,
said,
I would have said something. I don't know. If all that was for nothing, doesn't matter. We had a
hey,
good
I
time.
thought it went
We
very
practiced.
well, you know, for not having any practice ahead of time.
Went well, yeah, it's good.
So I'm contacting BC
Boston College.
because I understand that I am a half an eagle.
Okay.
Freshman, sophomore year, 2 years,
Yeah. We're making
half an eagle.
a winglet.
So I don't know if you ever heard the name Father James Skian. He passed.
Yeah, yeah.
Jim Skian,
I heard his name, never met him.
huh?
I never met him, but I heard his name mentioned in the past.
And Western Observatory, John Ebel, who
Okay.
was it Dr. John Ebel.
Okay.
John's been a good friend of mine for years. But Father Skian, I wanted to do a scholarship in his name
Really?
for what he did for me.
Wow.
Oh yeah, he found me the job with Western Geophysical Engineers,
Beautiful.
but almost
Do what you can.
almost killed me.
A lot of things will almost kill us. It's we don't die
No,
that makes a difference.
I was doing a seismic survey on the site for the nuclear power plant
Yeah.
up at Seabrook, and I had this big international harvester truck with all the equipment inside. Took a half a stick of dynamite about like that. Have 4 boreholes,
Yeah.
and I have these instruments called geophones down in the boreholes, and I put the half a stick of dynamite down the hole. I knew they were going to blow out, so I had rocks on it like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting back in the chair like this, a high-speed camera, start the button, I pull the plunger, I hear crack. That's all I remember. The line blew out of the hole, wet line, and it's zip cord, lamp
Yeah.
cord, about that thick. Hits the first 33K line, hits the second 33K line, comes down.
Electrocute you?
It threw me off the chair head first into a steel wall.
Yeah, they'll do it.
And-
TBI.
And gave me a TBI,
Yeah.
brain concussion.
Yeah.
Never went to the hospital.
Jesus.
They were so scared. There's 2 young guys out of Boston College
Yeah.
decided this business. OSHA would have cremated
Sure.
them, right?
Yeah.
And so another thing is I was a little wacky. So when I started back to UMass, 2 guys came up to me, and I got a blue Air Force coat on, and I've got a purple fedora, and I'm trying to set up a rock and roll show.
Purple.
What the fuck do you 2 want?
Yeah.
Well, we wanted to help you because it looks like you're running a little manic. I said, get called in the dean of students, Bill Field. And I said, these 2 gentlemen, so they gave me 2 Thorazine.
Okay.
I'm out in a car and I'm going up to see a girlfriend. Got a can of beer.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Like this. All of a sudden the telephone falls.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
snakes,
this, right?
Like snakes, yeah.
So I call up and I said, I'd like to see these 2 gentlemen in your office tomorrow, okay? So we go in the dean of students' office, right, like this. So I got the pill pod like this, and he said, oh, no, this is a court suit. I'm suing you assholes. So Bill Fields like this, he said, I got to side with the faculty, right? I said, you motherfuckers. I said, I'll get you bastards. I got kicked out of UMass. This had just started. I'm kicked out for 6 months, all right? And
Suspended.
so I'm in Boston. I had a stamp collection that I pledged to the local bank, and
Yeah.
that's how I was making money, plus the $300 a month I was getting from the feds. And I was having a ball, right? And so I had to go before a board of 6 psychiatrists, and I'm sitting there.
Same time or doing a group
No,
session?
6 months later.
Okay.
All right, this is a report that Bill Field needs back. He and I later became good friends because I got appointed to the alumni board of directors at UMass.
UMass.
Yeah. So, oh God, it
Go ahead, I'm
was
listening.
one adventure after another.
Well,
So-
life's full of that.
So, I mean, it's people that I met. So we started an airport business, and the people that we met in the airport business, I mean, I got a call to Winchester one day.
This is one of my stamps. What do you think that's worth?
All depends on whether there's a watermark on it, or there's like 3 different Scots.
Put your glasses on. That's the rate.
Oh, it's a coil stamp. Makes it more worth more.
12,000.
Really?
And I got this one here. You love this.
Where'd you get these?
My wife's I've got a bunch of these 2-cent ones. My wife's Aunt Bertha, who died at 103, 25 years ago.
Do you want to know a place to auction them off? I'll sell auction them for you.
There's one of mine. It's on my desk. You serious?
It is. Daniel Kelleher, probably the best.
Let me do this.
They're out of Danbury, Connecticut.
These are nice too. I got these 3 cents Jefferson stamps, and 22.29. This is worth about 13 grand, I guess. Hope this isn't recording.
Yeah.
But she used to give me all these stamps. I get stamps. I love stamps, Jimmy. We got together someday. We'll go. You come to the house. I'll go to your
Oh,
place.
yeah.
I'll bring them over to you. You can take a look at them. I want to get them into. I have these really cool stories of the plastic, with the coins.
My nephew runs a clean-out service, right?
Does he?
Called
Yeah.
Dutiful Daughter out of North
Yeah,
Andover.
you find a lot of stuff there.
Well, he sent me a collection, a Latvian collection, beautiful, pristine. It was all set up. So I shopped it. I have a friend named John Hotchner who's very big in the,
Stamp business.
not in the business, but he's known worldwide
Okay.
as a judge
Okay.
and an expert. He writes on errors. He has a what they call EFOs, these Errors, Freaks and Oddities Collectors Club. You know? Guess who was the president of it?
I have no idea. You're the president.
I was, yeah, for a year.
Well, I'm gonna get moving along. I gotta get home and get dinner ready for the way. It's 3:30 now. I hope that recorded.
Oh, well,
I think the red light means it's recording, right?
I would say
I
so.
would think so too. You said you hit it twice to shut it off. Oh, I think I don't know. It's all
Let
right.
me call Susie.
If it didn't, we'll just do it again next time. It's gonna be going on more often?
Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday. I can't do it every Tuesday. I got
No, I
too
know.
much going on. But,
So-
all right, Jim, well, it was fun. If whatever didn't come out, we'll try to fix.
Well, good. I mean, you carried the whole theme. I just filled in. You know?
You did a good job with it.
Oh.
We'll do it again,
Well,
all right?
well,
Definitely.
well, the
We'll cover
next-
different subjects.
Well, the next time I'm going to start with, my name is Jim Carter. I'm
You
80,
start next time.
and today I am 30,506 days old,
Oh, that's right.
and then I'm gonna back down to 1941.
And say to them, how many days have you been alive?
Right. So I start talk about my job. I had a job in World War II.
Yeah, amazing, amazing.
4 years old, I had a job.
Lemonade stand.
No. My grandfather gave me a big chunk of lard
Okay.
and gave me a yellow powder, and I had to make margarine out of it.
Oh, there you go, yeah. Quicksilver. I gotta run, Jimmy.
And so that family was fairly wealthy.
It'd have to be.
TIDD.
TIDD, 2 dids.
Yeah.
All right, Jimmy, where are we here? Hello? Hello, where are you? I think we're done in central control. I don't know if that was going well or not. Can you tell me, is it good channel? Okay, I don't know if it shut off when he got a phone call and I pressed the button once and we're back on. I think it was green or, I know you said hit it once for stop.
And now it's recording again.
Okay, so we recorded the whole time.